So what much we've heard today has been focused on what needs to be done to quicken the pace of media and attribution measurement innovation. But it's important to note that there are efforts underway to push that work forward, and we want to share some of those with you now. So as the industry's arm for the advancement of measurement and media measurement technology and R&D, SIM has the advantage of early exposure to some of the most inventive and advanced approaches that are emerging. And certainly, as we're about to hear from our next presenters, there's no one way to address some of the attribution needs that we've been discussing today. And also, SIM's role is not to define what that way should be, but rather to ensure that what technologies do emerge do so in a way that they best serve the needs of the end users. And so SIM serves as a place in the industry where we can help to play an active role in the development of these technologies and communicate to these new companies the needs of the industry. So what follows, we're going to have 8 companies that have approaches and methodologies that merit attention. Now, of course, we don't endorse any of these, but they all have approaches that we believe hold great potential. And many of the companies are already, demonstrating that potential by shaping the measurement efforts of their agency brand and network clients. So as we have limited time, what we're going to do is each company will have about 4 to 5 minutes to present, and then we'll have about 10, 15 minutes, whatever's left at the end, for questions. And so the companies are Bottom Line Analytics, Foursquare, BeatGrid, Conversion Logic, Analytic Mix, Parable, Optimine, and Samba. So we're going to start with our first presenter, Michael Wolfe, CEO, Bottom Line Analytics and Global Analytics Partner. Just turn that thing to on, this one. There you go. Now your mic is on. You want to put your...
Okay, thank you. So I'm going to talk a little bit about our approach to marketing attribution. I need to give credit to a partner company that's part of Global Analytics Partners, which is a joint venture company called Rainman Consulting in Bangalore, India. A lot of the spade work and development has been done by them with some recent assistance by moi. I want to apologize. I have to kind of rush out of here to get the last wagon train to Atlanta. So I'm not going to be able to entertain questions. But somebody's got my email and my phone number. So if it's a bearing thing, you probably can find me. So we have to start with the premise of really telling ourselves what attribution is. Attribution is a path, a journey that customers or consumers take, and during that journey, they are exposed to different media or marketing stimuli. And at the end of the block, they drop off and they convert to a sale. When you think about it, there's something very different about this description than when we think of conventional single equation regression. Number one is those little media exposures are not independent. They are dependent upon each other. The second thing is we're not talking about discrete responses as we would have in single equation regression. We're talking about a group response. So our approach is basically 3 steps. Understanding that we're in the relationship business. If you're in the data, it's the data relationship business. There's a lot of different types of relationships across the mix, the data that we're analyzing and modeling. You've got reciprocal relationships, 3-way relationships, leads and lags, long-term, short-term effects, even something that we've developed, which is media wear out and wear in. And the objective is to do the due diligence of advanced analytics and data discovery to identify, quantify, and map these complex relationships into a modeling system. The second step that we have is because attribution is a pathway, we would like to have a path type of solution. That is to be able to do, squirrely little simulations where we can actually simulate and see an actual dominant path in the data. And there are methods to do this. So here's our approach. The third step in our approach is a little joke, and I can explain it in a minute. I call it using thermonuclear weapons. The thermonuclear weapons is we start off with a straw man. Single equation, ordinary least squares is up there, and you can see that it's very different. There's a blue thing up there, it's a dominant contribution. And contribution is our measure of attribution here. It happens to be website views. And if you heard the old saying, if it quacks and walks like a duck, chances are it's a duck. This looks a lot like the Wicked Witch called Last Touch. And later in some of our other models, we kind of see evidence that that's a last touch. So this is not what we want. And there's all sorts of other risk of collinearity issues and so on that kind of makes the single equation econometric model not the right answer most of the time. In fact, all of the time, simply because regression assumes total independence of your drivers, whereas we know, based upon what attribution is, there is no independence. They're all interdependent. So this is not going to work. So we graduate to the thermonuclear weapons. The multi-equation solutions, we can go all the way from two-stage least squares to sure, seemingly unrelated regression, which is a favorite of ours, vector autoregression, state space modeling, using some strange transformations called Kalman filters. These are thermonuclear weapons. The important thing to understand here is in order to get it right or vaguely right, we need a multi-equation solution.
Thank you. This is rapid fire, Micah.
Okay.
You good? Okay. Thank you so much. Our next presenter is Chris Rory, Director of Research and Analytics at Foursquare.
Hello. Cool. The clicker.
You got that? It's right there. The clicker's up there.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Let's start with a little stadium-style wave for a second. I've got 5 minutes. I'm going to spend 4 minutes trying to get you guys to do the wave. I'm serious. Okay. 4 minutes, you're right. 4.5. So I'm going to go through this pretty quick. What I want to talk about is kind of our data at Foursquare. We've been doing a lot of things. You might have seen some press recently. We've kind of completely evolved into a location intelligence company. So we've gathered a ton of data over the years. We've been around for 7 years. A lot of you probably think of Foursquare as the check-in company. It's true, we got a ton of check-ins, over 10 billion to date. And we were really doing location data and location awareness before anybody was, back in 2009. So all of the data we have is coming from real people, from our consumer apps, Foursquare and Swarm. When people check in on Foursquare, so when you think about Foursquare being the check-in company, it does build our location map of the world. We get a very, very solid understanding of the world and a huge packet of data every time somebody checks in on Swarm. So basically, we're not just getting GPS data, we're also getting cell signals, Wi-Fi, the presence of any Bluetooth beacons, a bunch of different signals within the smartphone. The biggest thing here is Wi-Fi as well. So we're collecting the Wi-Fi list of networks you could connect to, whether you're connected to one of them or not. So that enables us to get a really solid understanding of verticality, of locations. We can understand, is it the Starbucks in the second floor of the Mall of America or the J. Crew one floor above it? That's because they have different Wi-Fi signals, in addition to GPS and all the other packet of data. This location map of the world is currently used by about 100,000 different technology firms, app developers. Some of our major strategic relationships are Apple, Twitter, Uber, Samsung. We just signed a major deal with Snapchat to make their geo filters more accurate, more granular so that they can do more geofiltering and all that good stuff, and a ton of other apps people use all the time. These guys vet the data quite a lot when they dig into it. There's, Apple, I think, spent 9 months, and we had a team of 3 engineers exclusively devoted to Apple and keeping Apple happy. So, they dig into it a lot. So we've started applying this to a number of different verticals, hedge funds, different, marketing intelligence firms and things like that. One of the products we've launched earlier this year is Attribution. So Attribution by Foursquare. We've been talking a lot about the need for holistic, multi-touch attribution that crosses all channels and is the perfect thing for everybody. This is not that. This is online to offline attribution, the perfect solution for brick and mortar marketers to get a really good understanding of how well their digital marketing is driving to store and also optimize partners within it. So the key thing here, Rex mentioned a lot about, the importance of building a very tight control group. We do it by pairing the exposed group with age, gender, DMA, and historical store visit. Obviously, Viant, I remember we can definitely do placebo tests on different publishers that we, tag. We can accommodate that, but this is really good for a holistic campaign where the marketer is not always burning impressions to build a control group. We have a real-time dashboard. So we talked, Thomas from McKinsey talked about how to get this data in the hands of marketers and publishers, et cetera. So that's what we do with the real-time dashboard. It goes into insights. It's up to date on a daily basis. You can see that control exposed. You'll also get a bunch of audience insights, all the chain data that we have access to that most people don't. So you'll understand audience personas. The last thing I'll close with, I probably got 20 seconds, 10 seconds, is this is a real life example. We work with a bunch of QSRs, or one of our major categories. We saw exposed visit rate, and we do this on a one-to-one basis in real time. We saw a huge increase on Fridays, so they started exploring a pulsed media strategy. We can also say that the optimization between partners and creatives drove lift from 11% to 14%. So that's actually $750K incremental revenue if we're assuming average revenue per visit. So that's it. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, all these guys will be around also during afterwards. So our next presenter, Daniel Jondro-Negoro, co-founder and managing partner of BeatGrid Media, and you have 4 minutes on the clock up there.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. Measuring audience behavior across different platforms, across devices for attribution ad effectiveness is a big challenge. And addressing that big challenge can be done in multiple ways. We think that the smartphone is a great way to do that. Smartphone is a device that we keep with us most of the day. About almost 80% of people between 18 and 44 keep it with them most of the day. We at BeatGrid, we are a small company in the Netherlands, and we're not between the big skyscrapers, actually between the Amsterdam canals and the cows, but we've been developing proprietary ACR technology specifically for passive metering on smartphones, capturing the ambient exposure of a TV. And our apps run unobtrusively in the backgrounds of our panelists' smartphones, capturing the real exposure of TV shows and ads and matching that against our ad databases throughout the entire day. And we do that with true accuracy. We've been benchmarked by some of our clients, and we came out on top specifically on the accuracy side, even identifying the exposure when the smartphone is in someone's pants pocket. Combining that with the efficiency of extremely low battery usage makes it a solution that creates data density across a day, but more importantly, retains users within projects. So we usually do different variations of incentives ranging from price draws over a 2-month period. And we noticed that the retention is extremely strong within our solution. So The key to that is happy panelists with an app that's really unobtrusive with accurate measurement and that creates robust data, because it's all about robust data. So if we combine media exposure from the same panelists and asking them what they think of the campaigns they've been exposed to, we get metrics. We get metrics from combining recall and the actual exposure, understanding to what extent the campaign is really effective. Combining that, making it a little bit more granular, combining that with understanding different types of media set. For example, one of our clients understand the effectiveness of sponsoring a TV show and doing regular airtime only, or doing the combination sponsorship and promotion and airtime. You know, if we can gauge the amount of effectiveness by asking the likelihood to buy, we see a big difference in the results. So optimizing TUV ROI, how we do it, is basically gathering strong and robust audience metrics, engaging the effectiveness through the survey data. All in all, the next step for us is that combining it with purchase data, again, from the same panelist, provides strong attribution. That's it. Within the 4 minutes.
Hey, 21 seconds to go. You can get that back later for questions. Okay, our next presenter is Allison Losi, COO and co-founder of Conversion Logic. Go.
Thank you. Okay, I'll be brief and merciful. In fact, I'm going to fast forward through all the slides and just get to one. There we go. Oh, let me go back. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about conversion logic and then explain a bit about our methodology. There's obviously a lot to what we do, but this is what we believe is some of our most exciting innovation. So a little bit about us. We were formed 2.5 years ago by a bunch of folks who had been in the attribution space and were a little frustrated with the first generation players and felt if we could rebuild from the ground up with an engineering core that we could build and work faster and ultimately deliver better results for the clients. So the key was we had to innovate, work faster. We had to build a pipeline that could process data quickly. But most importantly, it had to run through the right intelligence layer to deliver the right results. And that's where the ensemble framework comes in. So I'll brag a little bit about one of my co-founders. Jung-Yoon Lee is a PhD academic who loves to not only code, but also loves to compete in data mining competitions. And he competes in something called the KDD Cup, if anyone's familiar with the KDD organization. In those competitions, he's brought huge amounts of data and ultimately needs to predict whatever the business outcome is for a specific business. Netflix has competed, Amex has competed, and he's delivering a business outcome to say, okay, I can predict what's going to happen with this data at the end of the day. And that's where this ensemble framework comes in. So the ensemble allows you to take and process large amounts of data through multiple algorithms. We knew that we couldn't start with just a logistic regression or some black box proprietary model. We had to be more adaptable, not only to be able to work with large sets of data, to deal with nonlinear relationships, but also to make sure that the models could adapt to the client's business as the business changes. So what the ensemble framework allows us to do is to train our client's data every single time it runs against multiple algorithms. So we of course use logistic regression, but we also have game theory, neural networks, gradient boosting machine, and others, deep learning. We're constantly bringing in new models into this framework. We also can bring in client data or client algorithms into the framework as well. So it's tested against 80% of the data. We do a 20% holdout, and then we validate the results. So that's the second stage in the validation. And what we're looking for is against the holdout, how accurate was the model at determining this conversion or whatever the behavior outcome we're modeling. But it doesn't stop there. Every model gets a score, but it goes through another level of assembly where we're actually starting to take elements and components of each of those models and blend them together. And what you get at the end is an aggregation of models that delivers the most accurate outcome. So this is an example of AUC score, which shows on a specific client, the red is a logistic regression output, which was a 0.82 AUC score, and what we were trying to get toward is 1, so you're actually trying to get up into the upper left here. Gradient boosting machine was 8.4, But when you combine them, it's not an average, because actually what we're doing is we're pulling out elements of the models. When we blend them together, you actually get a more accurate score. So what it allows us to do, going back, is every client's model is a little bit unique. And not only is it unique to the client, it actually is unique week to week or day to day every time we train the model. So the client not only has full transparency into what models and how well they're doing, but has confidence that it's the most accurate and ultimately delivers the best business results. That's it.
Good timing. Okay, moving along here. The next presenter is Harun Ghosh, founder and CEO of Analytic Mix.
Hello. Does it work?
You push it up to go on? Like
Yeah,
that
I've
should
done
be on. Take this one if that one doesn't work.
Okay. So Jen, how this one works?
Keep clicking, yeah. Green one.
What do I point out?
Any place that we're supposed to be pointing this? Hello? Hello, 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 hello? Help? They're going to reset? Oh, okay.
Okay, in the
Great.
meantime.
There you go.
So I have only
Please
4
reset the
minutes
clock.
to talk about two very complex concepts. One is attribution, another is econometric models. In my world, I mean, both are the kind of same. I mean, both are coming from statistical regression world, different forms of regressions. So I'll show you a case study. I will show you a case study when it works. But what we have seen in case of attribution model, it goes much more granular. In other words, like, I mean, when we are working with marketeers, they want to find out some tactical information from attribution model. What they call attribution model, it is more like a granular level regression model. In some cases, like in the digital world, where you have individual level touch point information, you can perhaps do some deterministic models, but as soon as you come out of this digital world, that multi-touch attribution doesn't work well, because you don't have multi-touch data, like TV, print, and all other different data streams. So what do? You then build regression models. I want to show you the case study that I have. Does it work?
They're resetting.
Okay. So I get more time? That's good. That's good. So, I have one case study, but in the meantime, let me talk about another case study where multi-touch attribution really works. So, in case of prescription medication category, where you have individual level prescriber data, when you have the individual prescriber data, like data may be coming from IMS or Symphony Health Solutions.
They can advance the slides for you, so just tell them when you're...
Okay. Yeah, here. So here, I don't want to talk about our product offerings, but I want you to focus on two things. The first one is the cross-channel attribution modeling, where the multi-touch attribution model fits in, and the second one is strategic marketing mix model. So what we have seen that when we are working with advertisers, when advertisers don't have the access of very granular level data, they ask us to find out how to allocate investment across different channels. Now, one key thing is, when you are doing that, you'll have to find out the base. Like, when you are turning off all media channels, what do you get? So the years of work, like, the last 4, 5, or 10 years of work, that would be captured in the base. And then, our goal is to identify the contribution of different, the media channels, on the marketing channels. And the second one, or the cross-channel attribution, then what we are doing, we are integrating into the marketing mix model with the attribution model. First, we are identifying the levers of the attribution, and then we are going deep, and we are identifying the model where we would be integrating all TV station-specific information, digital channels, and print titles, and so forth. Go to the next one. Okay. I don't want to talk about this. So here, this particular case study, we have multiple channels that we are dealing with. We have TV, digital, radio, promotional calendars, and so many different other activities we have. We have macroeconomic variables here. And the statistical models are typically known as econometric models when they are integrating econometric or the economic macroeconomic factors like unemployment, CCI, CPI, and all other things. But in essence, statistical models and econometric models are conceptually the same. So here, what we do, we start with the marketing mix model effect. So by doing that, we capture the attribution of the TV, print, radio, direct mail, or whatever channels that we have. In this particular case, we have direct mail, digital, TV, and print. And TV has come out for this specific brand, hugely effective, the strongest lever. Now, then once we identify that, our next job is to identify by applying the multi-touch attribution or the attribution model. It is not exactly multi-touch attribution. It is more like tactical granular level model. There we are identifying TV. So I have brought the TV piece here, but we have digital, print, and other things as well. But the TV, when we are working with the agency, they want to identify the day part specific activities, or the allocation which would be helping improve ROI without even changing the budget. Then the next scenario is the media planners are working with us, and their next question is, well, we have like 100 different stations, but we want to identify what will be the optimal investment on a week or on month basis, because this one is a dynamic model. I have how many? Just wrap up. Okay. So, so we give the insights like by week, how much you can invest and what is the diminishing or the maximum point and the profitability. Then once they start optimizing, because it is a dynamic model, within 2 weeks we'd be optimizing again, and they can track the improvement. So the agency, for the agencies that we are working with, yearly engagements where we can track, and when they're applying our optimizations, they are finding out, 10 to 12% growth. These are the long-term effect we are capturing, and these are the granular. This one is a very small subset of the tactical insights that we are providing to our agency partners. That's all.
So then our next innovator is Carla Holt, CEO and co-founder of Parable.
Thank you. Nice to meet you all. Parable is an identification platform solving what we believe is one of the key problems in digital identity. Rule number 1, know your audience. Rule number 2, know where and how many times you have reached them. We realize and believe that knowing and counting your unique users across the entire mobile device, not just an app, is absolutely vital. The cookie design of the 90s has failed. In Safari, you don't have cookies at all. That's about 50% of the mobile users in the United States. Apps don't use cookies, as you know. You've got IDFA and AdID in there. And the web does not connect to the app world. Where you do have third-party cookies, you've got degradation rates of about 75% within just 1 month. So if you start out with 100 cookies and you have degradation, and then you've got cookie sync loss on top of that, you end up with about 5 cookies. And that's a really big issue. And as you know, the consumer journey is certainly not linear. And so identifying the user as they move across one single device is extremely challenging. So Parable has a patented, persistent, accurate identification solution. One device, one ID. It's not using fingerprinting. It's not using probabilistic methods. It's a digital currency for the ecosystem. We feed the device graphs, we're feeding the DMPs, the DSPs, and the entire ecosystem. And the proof is out there. We've done several very large case studies, and our ability to identify uniques for any given client is huge. 455% increase in unique visibility with the Parable ID. You ready to join? Email me.
Thank you. Wow, you get the award for the fastest presentation, too. Then our next to the last presenter, Matt Voda, CEO of Optimine Software.
Do you have the clicker?
It's right on the top there.
Thank you. I'm going to use my 4 minutes of fame this afternoon to make the case that there's a fundamentally different and better way to conduct marketing performance measurement, and that's Optimine. And we're delivering a fundamental shift towards a more agile approach to marketing measurement that's more reflective of the needs and challenges of today's marketer and not those of the marketer of 10, 20, 30 years ago. But before I dive into some of those details, I want to slow down just a little bit. And the sad state of affairs in today's vendor landscape is that these solutions are painfully, ungodly slow. And it doesn't matter whether you're using multi-touch attribution or marketing mix modeling, they have the same fundamental flaw. They're painfully slow, taking 9 to 18 months on average to deploy. And furthermore, when you're using a marketing mix model, you're getting those first sets of reports and results. They're not very actionable. In fact, the paid search team doesn't know what to do with a recommendation to go spend more across the millions of keywords that they're attempting to manage on a daily basis. Furthermore, industry analysts are calling for the unification of multi-touch attribution and marketing mix modeling, really to solve some of the granularity issues inherent in marketing mix modeling. But the nasty surprise is that when you attempt to put those two distinct approaches together, there's a huge and massive measurement gap in the middle. In many cases, the answers conflict. So the last piece of this then is that when you ask a new question of your model, you've got a new KPI, or maybe you tested something in the market, you're back to slow and you're back to the same problems. So why does this matter? Well, fundamentally, the market has changed. User behaviors of 12 months ago aren't the same as user behaviors now, not the same as what they'll be in 6 months. There are new ad networks and channels cropping up every month that are engaging your potential customers in new ways. And your competitors are trying to disrupt you, and they're moving faster than ever before. So it really boils down to the need for a new approach, something more agile. And if you think about it, the techniques that have been in the market, they've been around for 40 years, and not that there's anything wrong with that, being a 40-plus-year-old myself, but they haven't evolved. And even newer first-generation platforms around digital multi-touch attribution were digital-centric, really focusing only on digital conversions. Not especially good at measuring the other 50% of your budget that's still in traditional media, and 90% of your conversions that still happen offline. So we think of agile in 3 different ways: fast, actionable, and persistent. And that's exactly what Optimind is. We're taking traditional econometric approaches. We're building models in hours, not months, not quarters, not years, but in hours. And we're also getting to a level of detail that you haven't seen in traditional marketing mix models, down to individual keywords, how they're driving performance in offline channels. Brands such as Allstate, Best Buy, Bed Bath & Beyond, Citi, Discover, Mattel, United Healthcare are using our platform because they've recognized the fundamental need to take a more agile approach. How are we getting there? We're taking those traditional techniques, we're scaling them massively using a combination of automation and machine learning. We're doing it in orders of magnitude faster, building hundreds of thousands of models for any given client in a fraction of the time due to advances in cloud computing and big data, and giving them a level of precision that they haven't had before. That's new agile marketing measurement, and that's Optimind. Thank you very much.
Great. So our final presenter is Aiden Zaman, SVP Strategy and Corporate Development for Samba TV. And the clicker's right there.
Thank you, Jen. I think we're about 45 minutes from cocktail hour, so I'll keep it quick. I'm going to start off with a couple of quick questions. How many of you here own a smart TV? Okay, wow, that's a pretty good number. And how many of you watch Netflix or Hulu? All right, pretty much everyone. So Samba TV is a TV data and analytics company, which you've heard from a lot of TV data and analytics companies today. But I think what really differentiates us is where this data is coming from. So I consider us having 2 unique data sets. One is first-party data that we're collecting directly from smart televisions that have our technology embedded in them. And 2 is a proprietary device map that we've built over the last several years that now spans over 200 million devices across 35 million households. So I'll go a little bit deeper into those. So the company is now 7 years old. First several years, we spent developing this technology and getting it embedded into millions of TVs across 9 different brands. The technology is visual fingerprinting, so we're analyzing every frame of video that is passing through these televisions. So we're built in at the chipset level and able to analyze virtually anything that people are doing on these televisions. So the nice thing about being built into the TV, as more and more viewership is happening outside of set-top boxes, we're able to see things like Netflix, Hulu, video games, virtually any advertisement, and even over-the-air content that people are watching through an antenna. Pretty much anything other than home videos and porn. Good. I want to make sure people are still listening. That combined with our device map allows us to produce research insights that weren't previously possible using small panels like Nielsen or Symphony, or using time-based regression analyses like converter odometry. So all of our research is done on a one-to-one basis. We've cherry-picked 3 million TVs out of our total footprint that we use to do longitudinal cross-platform research studies. These are some of the types of insights that we're providing clients, which now include TV networks, over 100 of the Fortune 500 brands, as well as many publishers who use us to prove their ad effectiveness. So this is actually from a real attribution study that showed the reach across TV, digital, and then TV plus digital. And as you can see, the digital was a click-through rate. The TV is essentially like a click-through rate. So we measured what percentage of people were exposed to the TV ad and then subsequently went to a website, researched a product, and then we showed the impact of the combination of TV plus digital. Other answers or other insights that we're providing are which networks had the highest conversion rates. Again, looking at digital conversion like online car configuration or online purchase, and then also looking at the impact of frequency. We also help agencies understand the impact of different types of creative wear out, creative optimization, et cetera. We started out doing research for TV networks who wanted to get a better understanding of the effectiveness of their tune-in ads. We now work with, we're the exclusive measurement partner for several different TV networks, but we also provide this research to publishers and ad networks who want to demonstrate the effectiveness of their ad campaigns. And then going the other way, we look at ad exposure on TV as well as on other devices, and then ultimately looking at what percentage of those people converted. We started doing that through just digital conversions, but now we've gone beyond digital conversions to look at in-store purchases, location, and even CPG on the dot.
You guys want to all come up and we'll do, okay, we've got 5 minutes, you guys. So everybody come up and we've got a couple of microphones. Carla, if you want to take this one. Just questions? Come on, you guys, it's a great chance. Ask some new innovators some questions. We've got one right down here in the front.
Yes. Thank you very much for your presentations. It's all very interesting. It seems to me a lot of you, what you're offering are media measures using predictive analytic techniques.
Media measurement using what?
Predictive analytic techniques. No, machine learning. That sort of thing.
Techniques.
Right, exactly. So if you don't mind commenting on how you feel like the best data fit into like these sort of mixed models techniques. And also someone mentioned game theory, and I was just wondering if you could share which algorithm in game theory you were using.
I think the game theory guy left, but was it you?
Yeah, so no, I can't share some of the details, but if you want to call me later, I will definitely talk you through some of that. But I do think for machine learning, it can be applied beyond digital, right? It's something that can be applied, the framework can be applied to all channels and all data as it comes through, as long as it's binary and modelable. So it's something we believe in very strongly, the predictive aspect, and it's something that we are committed to making sure as we take in more and more channels as we grow, that we're able to take it more broadly to broader business questions.
Okay, I think it's very clever, actually. Thank you.
I'm sorry?
I think it's extremely clever.
Oh, well, thank you.
Great. Anybody else here? Okay, Mike Hess over there needs a microphone.
I'll inject some controversy at the end of the day.
Go for it.
I don't know if all of you guys were here this morning, or around noon, but there were some presentations that questioned the industry's happiness with current attribution models. Maybe you were there for that. And now you guys are up here presenting and saying, hey, here are some really good results we're getting with attribution models, which of course I expect you to do, present that. How do you bring the two together? Like, it looks like you're doing good work, but at the same time, a couple of hours ago, we all heard that people in a net promoter sense are not necessarily promoting or happy with the work that they've done so far. So could you respond to that?
Sorry, I'll start. So we definitely agree. I mean, we don't believe in any kind of predictive modeling or black box analysis. Instead, all the analysis that we're doing is on a one-to-one basis. So when we provide reports to clients, we really break it down into micro cohorts, providing statistical significance of kind of the results that are there, and then we leave it to the client to determine how they want to use that data.
So there are a couple of aspects. I mean, when we are doing the attribution modeling, when we do one-to-one model, we have done that. I mean, for prescription model category, where we have individual prescription and individual prescriber level ID, and then we are matching with copay and detailing and sampling and all of the stuff. That helps you in understanding the segmentation, targeting, and things like that. But until and unless you are building predictive model, which you are calling as predictive model, this one is more like a statistical model. Statistical model, more like deterministic in a sense, but at the same time you can predict the future or what can happen if we change certain stimuli. But unless you do that, what you will be missing, that is the quadratic response or the optimal curve. So many times what we have found out, the one segment probably could be very attractive, but when you are building some diminishing return point, all of a sudden one particular segment may not be as attractive. So the both worlds should be connected.
I'll say something real quick. The last thing here, I think a lot of multi-touch attribution products are being pitched as SaaS models that probably don't come with a user manual and they don't come with enough servicing sometimes. When you look at marketing mix or research and study design and experiment design, typically there's a lot more sort of explanation and analysis and walking the clients through the results and partnership in a consultative way. So I think that could be partly due to the reason.
I'll add that I think we're in very early innings here. A lot of our clients were dipping a toe, first adopters with multi-touch attribution, definitely skinned their knees, and I think that's reflective in the data that you saw earlier. For us, the challenge is to get them to think about things differently, and when they get into a test and measure mindset, and they think about using the tools in a fundamentally different way, in a more continual operational cadence, they're much happier, they're moving faster, and that's a key for us in terms of overcoming some of those initial fears and trepidation about what they've experienced.
Sorry, one more comment. And this is less specific, but more general. I think, our company was born out of frustrations in the market. Frustration's not new. It's been a hard problem. It takes a lot of people to solve it, and it takes a lot of machines to solve it. And at least our company is committed to continuing to evolve as the media changes, as the device changes, as the customer changes, to making sure that we can keep up. But there is a lot of problems for us to still solve. Everything from data onboarding to the right resourcing model to the operationalization and the optimization, let alone the modeling and everything that fits in the middle. So I think that, our company, and I have a feeling this group here, which is why we're here today, are all committed to continuing to solve that, because it's going to be very iterative and there's a lot of work to be done.
Great, well said. And I think we have one up there from, is that Ross? Oh, go ahead.
What are your most significant implementation challenges, and is there like a type of client that's most difficult?
I'm not going to pick on a client, but I mean, it all comes down to data, right? And data governance. And I think there are clients who have better data governance and worse data governance. It all depends on the other problems they're trying to solve. Attribution tends to be one of many business problems that they're trying to solve, understanding their customer, understanding their profitability. So clients who have done some house cleaning, have done some level of work, makes attribution go much faster. Industry agnostic. It really comes to the more progressive clients who've, as I tried to say, solved problems with data before.
I have an actual question this time. It's for Carla. You made some bold claims. You had very little time. But, identity management, connecting cookies and devices to a person is a huge deal in the tests that we found, more important than the analytics. We found 50% errors in onboarding, where we would go to some of the onboarders and we'd check as we actually knew who that cookie actually went to, and it was wrong about 50% of the time. So it's a very big deal. But you're up against really big companies like Facebook has like the best identity management probably. Where do you get your data? Why would you think that anybody could use your kind of data instead of something like Facebook? Or
Sure. So we actually, to be clear, we ran into this problem in a previous business that I had. And we tried to license a solution from several different companies trying to do probabilistic or fingerprinting, and realized that was not working. So we ended up creating state in the web and realized how significant that was for the entire industry. And think of Parable, the first part of it was like IDFA or AdID for the web world. And we have 4 patents around that, granted, and 4 more pending. So we can talk about how we do it, what I'm allowed to share later. Because we have state in the web, we're able to make that one-to-one match with IDFA or AdID so that you can do the attribution across the entire device. What that means for targeting, retargeting attribution is you can actually share some of those, geo, everything else that you're collecting in-app with the web world. So we can talk a little bit about that. We're not an attribution company ourselves. We're feeding the attribution companies. So I'm not going to make any bold claims about what persistence does. We're working on some research actually about how it can lift that with some data scientists, but we're not the attribution company ourselves. We can show visibility lift, we can show lift in uniques. We work with the media companies directly. We work again with the SSPs, the exchanges, the DMPs, everybody else. So talk to me.
This is the biggest problem with attribution. Even small accuracy issues throw a model completely off. And I think a lot of companies that think that you have to match everything together to get a model, they're going to run into this exact problem. We still believe that econometric approaches are fundamentally better.
I think we're going to have to call it a day there, call it a wrap. Let's give a nice hand to all of these innovative new companies.